my fellow comic book collectors. Today is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I do my Q&A video where basically I answer your questions. And each week I get some pretty great questions, and this week I have some pretty great questions. If you want to ask me a great question, you can put it in the comments below and I will give you a shout out and answer your question. The first question comes from Joseph Barbara. And oh man, Alan, good luck with moving. Your collection is way too awesome to trust to movers, not to damage or lose them. I'd rather rent a U-Haul truck and transport the comics myself. In the long run, I think it's worth the painstaking process to obtain much needed space for your incredible collection. By the way, here's a question for you. Would you consider buying a presser to improve the condition of your raw books like some other people on YouTube? So I actually looked into pressing books, and I'm very nervous about it. It's like one of those things, like I know what the process is. I know a little bit about how to do it, but I'm so nervous about mangling potentially a book that's irreplaceable. So at this stage, I don't think I'd press books. But maybe in the future, I did look at buying a press. And then I heard that you have to make sure that the press is smooth and a whole bunch of things. I was just paranoid about it. So yeah, maybe in the future, seeing how things go. I'll wait on that. I know a lot of people that do press, and they make it sound not too bad. That sure, they mess up a couple books, but they always practice on dollar bin books first. I'm just paranoid about it. So maybe in the future, maybe not. I don't know. Black Box Silver and Bronze asked, question for next week. Alan, in another video, you unboxed Canteen Kate and mentioned that you had #1. If you have more Matt Baker art, could you show 5 or 10 or his top covers in your PC? Well, I don't have a massive Matt Baker collection, but I have a few. I have a few. And I'll give you a little, for those people who are not familiar with Matt Baker, he was considered to be one of the great artists from the Golden Age. He was a Black artist. He's one that I, consider to be one of my favorite artists from the Golden Age. His story is actually kind of interesting. He was born in 1921, and he lived in New York, and he was one of the artists that worked with Iger House. Now, Iger House would basically be this company that would produce artwork for other companies. So, Fox Publications or St. John's or Quality Comics, Fiction House. Iger House would produce for them. So it was actually kind of the story that I heard from that time period was that Matt Baker, he went in to meet with Iger, and he had one drawing that he did, and it was just like a simple drawing of a woman. But Iger was so impressed by how beautiful he had drawn this one portrait of a woman that he hired him on the spot. And at first, what they used Matt Baker for was to really do the backgrounds. He was a penciler, and often because he was a penciler, he didn't get much credit, because what would happen is he would pencil the whole backgrounds, or he would pencil the women, and they kind of knew him for doing these really great female forms. Well, what would happen is he would pencil all that, then the inker would come in and cover over Matt Baker's art. So often he would not get the credit for the artwork. So so that was kind of the thing with Matt Baker. He didn't get a lot of the credit he deserved, but he did do a lot of stuff that he is well known for. And I'm going to show some of it. Here's one of his covers. I'm just going to show his cover art. I have some of his, I have lots of his interior art, but cover art, not so much. This is Crime Reporter number 2. And this is just a really great cover, first of all. This is a Matt Baker, though. And it's just, it kind of shows how he kind of can capture the beauty of a woman and even the facial expressions. So yeah, just a really quite interesting picture. So Matt Baker, he did a lot of work for a fiction house, and his first published artwork is actually in Fiction House. It's in Jumbo Comics number 69. And I'm just going to show, as I'm babbling about Matt Baker, I'm going to show some of the ones in my collection. This is another Matt Baker. This is Teenage Romances. Matt Baker, during the 50s, he really did a lot of romance books. So this is one of them. And my friend Black Box Silver and Bronze asked about Canteen Kate. Well, this is Canteen Kate. So, and this is a character that was created by Matt Baker, and he did all the artwork for her. So this is kind of a cool character, Canteen Kate. And Canteen Kate is one of the few books where he actually gets credit, and because you can see his signature on the actual cover. There are other books that have his signature. I actually used to believe that it was only on Canteen Kate, but he actually got his signature on other books as well. So that's Canteen Kate number 1, and here's Canteen Kate number 2. I showed this in an unboxing earlier. So this is Canteen Kate number 2. And for Fox Publishing, he worked on Zoot, he worked on All Top, JoJo Comics, and a bunch of things. This is one of his covers. And you can see that, the way he draws women is very, very sexy. So that's why a lot of people like him. If you actually look at this cover, it really will remind you of the way he did Phantom Lady. So one of his famous pieces is called Phantom Lady number 17. And if you look at this girl, kind of looks very similar to Phantom Lady 17. And that was the one that kind of got him in trouble. Not really him personally, but got comics in general in trouble. It was mentioned in the section of Innocent by Frederick Wortham, a book by Frederick Wortham that led to the Comic Code Authority. So Matt Baker was one of the key people that were one of the artists that was mentioned frequently by Frederick Wortham that led to the end of the golden age of comics. So kind of he's a very key character in that respect. Here's another book, Pictorial Romances, number 9. And you can see Matt Baker cover signed. So it's very rare that you get to find these ones where you get to see Matt Baker's signature on the cover, but this is one of them. Pictorial Romances. And I mentioned Phantom Lady. This is not the one that everyone chases after, but it's another great one by Matt Baker. This is Matt Baker's Phantom Lady 16. And it's 17 that people chase after because it's a bit more sexy. So this is Phantom Lady 16 though. And this one was also mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent just because of the sexiness of the characters. So just another great Matt Baker cover. And as I said, he did work for St. John, and he worked on a title called Nightmare. This is kind of a little bit Precode horror. So really great. Water nymphs. And his first actual cover, from what I can see, and this you'll see you're actually going to see this book again in the future because it's I'm actually showing it in unboxing. Like I unboxed it this week. I literally got this book a couple days ago. But the unboxing videos are not going to be airing until like a few weeks from now. So it's going to be weird, but you're going to see this is a preview for the unboxing that's coming up. And it's a pretty major unboxing. Like if you thought my current unboxing is big. This next one's even bigger. It has even better stuff in it. It's kind of crazy. But this is one of the items that was in it. This is Crown Comics number 6. This is a Matt Baker cover. And this is maybe, and from what I can see, I'm just date-wise 1946. I think from what I can see, I kind of went through all the records to try to find out. I believe this is the first Matt Baker cover. I'd like somebody else to do some research and find out if I'm right about that, but I believe this is the first Matt Baker cover from what I can see, from the research that I've done. And there's no definitive way of finding that out. It's like really hard to get that definitive answer or what was the first Matt Baker cover, but I believe that this one was in fact his first cover. If you get Crown Comics number 3, it actually features another character developed by Matt Baker called Ruda, and that was actually the first black hero in comics. So Matt Baker is a pretty cool guy. He's had pretty major influence on comics. Some other cool things, I actually made a list of cool things about Matt Baker. His last known art piece was potentially in 2 comics. Like there's 2 different ones. So he died in 1959. So he died actually very, very young. Like I consider him very, very young because he's younger than me when he died. He was in Atlas's My Own Romances in number 73. And that My Own Romance, number 73, that was in January of 1960. So actually, after he died, they published his last known artwork. But there's also some debate whether or not his artwork was also featured in another comic from Marvel, Love Romances 90. And that was in November of 1960. So there's debate. Like in the Love Romances 90, it's just one page that could have been done by Matt Baker, but they're not 100% sure. The other cool thing was he actually worked for Charlton Comics as well. And when he worked for Charlton, he used a pseudonym of Matt Bakerino. I thought that was kind of funny. He was also in the Will Eisner Hall of Fame for Art, inducted into that for Will Eisner's Comic Hall of Fame in 2009. So very, very important artist. Just to get into the Hall of Fame, you must be a pretty major artist. Okay, so that's that question. Where did I put the rest of the questions? Here. Okay, so that was that one. Okay, so the next question comes from Martin Bow. How difficult is it to use heritage auctions? Actually, it's very easy to use heritage auctions. I'm thinking about joining, but didn't want to be confused. I find Mile High website impossible to navigate. What would the postage cost be too much for heritage auctions to be a viable option for me? Would, oh geez, my reading skills, oh my goodness. Okay, would postage costs be too much for heritage auctions to be a viable option for me? So just so you know, Martin Bow, he was one of the guys that I actually interviewed on this channel. I recommend you check out his interview because he's a kind of a very cool guy. He's in Australia. So shipping from US to Australia is pretty expensive. But what he can do. Okay, so I'm going to explain a couple things about heritage auctions. First, the way heritage auctions works is they have auctions running every week. Usually Sunday and Mondays they have their comic related auction. And in between, sometimes they'll have either memorabilia or what's called a signature auction, which might end on a Saturday or some other day during the week. So there's maybe a few days to look for. Navigating heritage site is not necessarily the easiest, to tell you the truth. I do have some issues with it. So the way you can do it, the way I do it is a little weird. So generally what you do is you find, you can actually pick what auction it is, and they'll actually have like, they auction so many different things like coins and art and a whole bunch of stuff. So sometimes you have to kind of look through a long list, like it's drop down menu of all the auctions that are coming up. And it's sometimes annoying to try to find the right auction for the comics. So the way I do it is a little different. What I do is I search for Action Comics. Not that I'm looking for Action Comics or anything like that, but if you search Action Comics, pretty much every comic auction has Action Comics sometime coming up. So what you do is you search Action Comics, and then you can find the auction that's ending the soonest, if that makes sense. Because it'll show like all the items that correspond to that search. And you'll see like it says like 3 days away or 5 days away or whatever it is. And then what you do is you click on that closest end date item. And then you can see when you click on that, it'll show that item big. But at the top, there'll be like a navigation of all the items in that same auction. And that's how I find the most closest end date auction. And then what I do is just, I then go through it usually a few days before the auction actually airs. And you can actually pick the option to track items. I don't actually bid at that point. I just track the items. So I get a whole bunch of items in my track items. And then when the auction day comes up, and it usually is 7 p.m. on Sunday and 7 p.m. on Monday. What I'll do is around 7, I'll place my bids. So that way they're implemented during the auction. And what I'll do is, I basically just have my tracked item list, and I just put in all my auction bids and then press submit, and then they're in there. And then the auction goes through. I try to avoid watching it if I can, because sometimes you get that FOMO effect where you kind of bid yourself up and you go above what you think is a fair market value for the books. So you got to be careful of that. I try not to watch the auction, because I do kind of fall into that, because I sometimes overpay because I get excited that I'm going to miss out on that item. So don't do that. Try to avoid. Put in what you think is your comfortable price for the book, and then let it go. Okay, after all that happens and you win whatever items that you win, then what you can do is you have to pay for it, right? But you can call Heritage, and what I do is I pay for it, but then I tell them to consolidate my items. So I might buy one item 1 week, another item another week, and so forth. And what I do is I get them consolidating all of those items. Okay, so instead of having to pay like shipping every time, because that would be really horrendously expensive, I pay one shipping fee when I'm ready to ship all my stuff, and then get it shipped out. However, to make it even better, what I've done recently is I now take all those items that I'm getting from Heritage and I ship it to Stackery. Now at Stackery, I consolidate it with all my US eBay orders or my comic shop orders and consolidate it further. And that way it's one shipping cost to Canada. Okay, so if you're going to go to Australia, you could do the same thing. Also, you can set what the value is. Generally what happens is when you send it from Heritage to wherever, you get killed on customs, because they'll set the value and it'll be really obvious, and you'll pay the max price. I generally will kind of downplay how much the items were in my Stackery. So that's one thing that you can do to save yourself that customs fee, because the customs can be really brutal. And sometimes in Canada, I've been dinged where they actually took the amount of the item and the shipping, and that was the total that they used to calculate how much customs I had to pay. And it was, just really unfair. I just thought it was like an extra, $100, for what, for shipping costs. It was just insane. So that's how I use Stackery plus Heritage to get some items. Now, is it worth it to do all this? Is Heritage actually a better site than like eBay or one of those other ones? Well, it depends on what you're trying to buy. So if you're trying to buy bigger items, Heritage is the way to go. Like, you cannot find certain items that Heritage has on eBay. They're just usually, there's certain items that just don't come up on eBay because, the audience is different on Heritage. And sometimes what'll happen is an item that should be on eBay comes up on Heritage, where it's a cheaper item and people don't generally bid it up. So you can actually get certain items cheaper on Heritage, and you can get the items that are rarer on Heritage. So that's what I generally use Heritage for when I'm looking for my Golden Age books or books that I just can't find on eBay. So that's how I use Heritage. Hope it helps. Hope this kind of explains a little bit. And if you have questions, you can always ask me. Just Instagram me or whatever, and I'll explain it to you. Okay, so last question, and I feel bad about this one because you'll see. Okay, it's from Lady Pop Hunter, and she wrote, "Great books. Do you have any G.I Combat number 75 to 104 in your collection? If so, please show them. Also, do you have any Beyond comics? Can you show any Beyond comics that you have?" Well, I do not have those G.I comics. And the Beyond ones are right there. The two Beyond. And actually, I've shown those so many times that I've shown those so many times. One is, okay, I'll show them again. I'll actually grab them. But I wanted to show, if I can find it. I actually should have brought this. Sorry, you gotta bear with me sometimes. I do these weird things where I realize after the fact that I could have shown one more thing. And of course, now I can't find it. One sec here. So right now, my comic room is insane. It's in a state where I can't really find anything. And I get really annoyed by that. Okay, so yeah, so this is a new one that's going to be also in that future unboxing. So I've shown these two back here fairly frequently. So I'm gonna I'll show them, but I'll show this one first. This one I got from Alex the Comic Hoarder. I just thought it was a really great cover. So this is Beyond, the Beyond. I'm not even sure what number it is, to tell you the truth. But I thought it was a really great, a good girl art cover. You got this crazy monster guy, like werewolf dude. And I just thought it was really nice. So I got that from Alex. And I'll show you the two behind me. I've shown these many times, but I'm going to show them again. This is the mermaid one. This is number 2021. Just a really great mermaid cover. And I showed it for my underwater cover challenge. And then another one, and this one was mentioned in the Seduction of the Innocent, is Beyond 27. This one can go for quite a bit of money. That one the other one I got for like $100. This one though can go for several thousand. This is Beyond 27. I think I paid $1,800 for it actually. So it's quite a pricey book, but very cool. And this was done by who's the artist? I think Luke Cameron. It's kind of a cool book. So that's it. I I didn't have the G.I Combats. I do have some later G.I Combats, but they're really beaten up. They're not really worth showing, to tell you the truth. I got them in a kind of a collection of dollar bin books. But that is today's video, and I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a comment below if you have a question. I will do my best to try to answer it. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.